Hello guys, welcome back. We're gonna create a drawing program today, so say hello and stuff like that. Oop. But if they're on the same URL, which we can do like this, and we draw, you'll see, then they're on both. It's super cool. We're gonna be creating this today with some more nice CSS styling. Also, don't look at this. It's like the view icon, and view goes on the same port, but now the standard logo on this, or the standard favicon on this port, is now the view logo. So I'm not really sure how to get rid of it, but you tell me. So yeah. So today we're just gonna work on making that. So I got an empty directory made right here. And let's get started with that. I'm gonna close this one out, and let's just get started. So, you can use npm for this. I'm gonna use Yarn, which you can download by doing this. If you don't have npm, you might need to download it. You need to download Node.js. So yeah. So I'm gonna use Yarn. You can also use npm. Almost every command that I'll be using is equivalent, and I'll show the equivalent for them. So I'm going to do yarn init. You can also do npm init, but I'm going to do yarn because I want yarn to be a little more popular than it is right now. So click, and I'm just going to enter through this. Cool. And now we can say yarn add, which you can do, and then you can do the same thing with npm I, and we say yarn add express socket.io, EJS, and UUID. This is all server side, remember? So, yeah, don't get too lost up in it. And then we're going to say yarn add -G or -D for developer, which the equivalent for that in Node.js or with npm is npm I -save-dev. I'm going to use yarn add -G -D and then nodemon, and that's gonna download nodemon like this. Clear this out. If you do code period, it's gonna open the project in in Visual Studio Code. Again, if you don't have Visual Studio Code, it's not gonna work. So we're gonna do a couple of things in the package.json, and then we're gonna get going. So firstly, change the main to server.js. And then you want to go and create a scripts tag like this. And then the first one is going to be starts, which is going to be node period. And the second one is going to be dev, which is going to be nodemon period. Like this. And now if you just do npm say dev for developer start. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to say yarn dev for developer start. It's gonna be like, hey, you don't really have a server file, so let's create that. And now if we create that, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, it's gonna work. If we can restart, we can stop it, we can, yeah. Oh, and we need to install EJS. I'm not sure if I did that. Did I? Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, we're all good. Yarn dev. There you go. Now we're gonna require express to be, well, require express, and then we're gonna say app equals the function. Say app is the function of express. No thanks, may I just thank you, and then app is the function of express. Then we want to require server. It's going to be require HTTP, and then we say .server with the app like this, and then we're gonna say const io equals require socket.io with that server, and then we're gonna require UUID to be or we're gonna require v4. We're going to require the UUID v4 function to come from the v4 module in UUID. Like that. Let me think. Then what we're gonna do is you're gonna say app.get. So if you're on this is gonna be almost like what we did the last time, but if you're in the standard directory, just redirect you to a brand new room, which we can do by doing this. So UUID v4, that function like this, and we can see if this works by listening on with the server some kind of port. If we now go to port like this, can be like, hey, you don't really have a directory with that name, which is correct, but we don't want to do that. We want to render a brand new window. We want to render a brand new window with EJS, or well, EJS is the view engine that we're going to be choosing for this. So if we now say request a response, if you're at a room, we want to render, as a response, we want to render a brand new room, and with the parameters we're going to pass in is the room ID, which is from the params.room, which is going to be this room right here. And now if we refresh, we're going to get a different error. The error is not going to be anymore like, well, the directory doesn't exist, but it's going to be like, hey, we don't have an engine to work with. So let's set our engine. We already got UUID, so we just set the engine. So we're going to set our view engine to EJS. Refresh, press F5, and then we're going to get a new error, which is going to be like, hey, we have a view engine, and we now know what we need to do with the directory, but I don't really know which file I should use to render it with, which is fine because we don't have one yet. So we're going to create a views folder, which is going to be the standard folder that's going to look in, and then we're going to create our room.ejs like this. And now we can do exclamation point and then tab, which is just going to create some standard boilerplate, and we'll say test. And if we refresh, you're going to say, hey, it finally works, which is a lot of work to just get a get some text onto the screen, but trust me, it's only going to get easier from here. So there's some stuff we need to do in our EJS file. I'm going to set the title to drawing program. We are going to create an H1 saying, here it comes. Oh, I'm going to create an H1 that says drawing program. And then we are going to create a canvas, which is going to have a width and a height of 600 pixels. Like this. And then we are going to require our script to be script.js, which doesn't exist yet, and be careful because this is going to be very important that you put this slash right here. And then we're going to link our style.css that also doesn't exist yet. Make sure you got that slash right in front of it, not two, just one, like here, one slash. Now we're going to host these two files that we our script.js and our style.css that we want to have by just saying app.use. Not unsubscribe. No, please stay subscribed to my channel. Express.static. And then public. Like this. And now if we now create a public folder with, say, like a script.js file in there, and our maybe our no, I don't want to look into there, thank you, our style.css, it's now linked, and we shouldn't have any errors with it. So yeah, refresh this and say drawing program. Let's see if we have any errors. We do not. Okay, great. Now we can, like, first thing I want to do is I want to get our H1, and I want to set font family to something nicer, so like Arial, Helvetica, and Sans Serif is good enough. If we refresh, you'll see, hey, there you go. It's gonna say drawing program with a nicer font, and we're gonna center in the center, which we can do by saying text align center. refresh, it's in the center. Now what we can do is we can go back to our room.ejs, and I'm gonna just change this up to say an amazing drawing program, which you don't have to do. Yeah, you know what? Let's just keep it a drawing program. That's just easier. Now we got our canvas. I want to center my canvas in the middle, which we can do by saying canvas position absolute. Top equals 50%. Left equals 50%, and then transform translates negative 50%, negative 50%. Now, if we look at it, well, you're not really gonna see it, but if we select our canvas, you're gonna see, hey, it's right in the middle, which is super cool. Now, if we just select our canvas, which we can do in our window.onload function that we can create in our script.js, so we're gonna select our canvas by saying c equals document.query selector, and then with our canvas. So now we've got our canvas selected in the C variable, and now we can get our canvas context, which is going to be c.getContext, and that's going to be 2D. And now we can create some kind of a repeating function, which we can say set interval, which we can do by saying by setting an interval, which is going to run 30 times every second, which we can define by this variable right here. Now if we grab our repeat function, we can draw onto the canvas. So we can say ctx as fill style. So we're setting the style of, or we're setting the color of what we're about to draw with, which I'm gonna make black. And then we can draw a rectangle from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, which is virtually gonna work as a background, like this. Ta-da! If we now refresh, you'll see this is our canvas. So we're gonna need to do a couple of things to make this canvas work nice, but yeah, let's get right into that. Firstly, we need to get our mouse position and see if the mouse is down or not. So we're gonna create a couple of variables. Firstly, mouse down, which is gonna be false by default. Our mouse x and mouse x, and our mouse y, which is I'm gonna set them to 0 by default, but you do you. And then we want to check if the mouse is down, which we can do by adding an event listener, which is going to be mouse down. And that's going to, and if the mouse is down, set the variable mouse down to true. But if the mouse is up, set it to false, which we can do like this. If the mouse is up, we can set the variable to set the variable mouse up to false. Now we can grab the positioning for the mouse, which we can do by saying add event listener, mouse move. And we need to grab the events. We need to know where the canvas is in correlation to the window, because if we just use the mouse move function, it's gonna just assume that 0, 0 is up here, and then we're gonna have this offset of about this on our canvas, which we don't want. So we want to make 0, 0 the point right here. So we need to know where this is, which we can do by using the function getClientBounding, something like that, which I'm gonna call bounding box. It is probably not the get client. Not bounding box. So it's none of those what I just typed. It's get bounding client rex, which is going to be a function. And then what we can do is we can say mouse x equals e.client x plus, or minus actually, sorry, the bounding box dot x, And then we do roughly the same for mouse Y, just swap out the variables. Client Y minus bounding box dot Y, like this. Now we got a mouse X and mouse Y. Let's check if they work by just drawing a circle at that position, which we can do by saying the fill style to say something like red, and drawing a circle in the HTML canvas is a little finicky, but just copy my code and it should work. So this is the positioning where I put mouse Y, X and mouse Y. This is the radius. And then this is just code to make it work because we're using an arc and because you don't really have an ellipse function in the HTML canvas. Now if we say ctx.fill and we go back to our canvas and we press F5, you'll see get bounding client direct. Oh, this isn't working because we need to say canvas because, well, if it doesn't know which relative, if we're meaning to be relative of our text or of what, we need to put C before it. So now if we refresh please, it's gonna work again, which is super cool. You'll see now we have a circle at the position of the mouse X and Y. But we don't want it to be a circle. We want it to be a line. So let's get that started. Firstly, we want to draw our background when the window is unloaded and not there, which is, firstly, if we just do this, it's gonna kind of work, but we want it to be a little nicer. So if we define a previous mouse X and a previous mouse Y, what we can do is we can say P mouse X is mouse X before changes. P mouse Y is going to be mouse Y before changes. And now if we begin path, we say move to ctx.move to, and we say move to the previous mouse X and the previous mouse Y. And then we can say ctx.line to P mouse X, or the current mouse X, sorry, and the current mouse Y, like this. And then we want to stroke, and then we want to say not fill style but stroke style, and then we can set the line width by saying ctx.line width equals, like, let's say like 2. And now if we refresh, you'll see oh, question mark. What am I doing wrong here? This needs to be before this, because it actually just should work, but it's not. So let's see what we're doing wrong. Also, it's not going on the mouse down yet. What's going wrong? Give me 2 seconds and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're gonna do this slightly differently, in the sense that we're not gonna have a repeat function. Oh no. Oh no. But we're gonna do it in our mouse move function, which, to be honest, is a little logicaler than, yeah. So then we can just say, if the mouse is down, we can just, then we can draw the line. So we can just say ctx.fill, fill, or stroke style equals red. And then we can draw that line. So we can say ctx.begin path. And then we can draw then we can move to the previous mouse X and mouse Y. Actually, I'm gonna put a let before this because we want them to be local variables. P mouse X, P mouse Y, and then ctx line to mouse X, mouse Y. And then we want to stroke. And now if we look, it should work better. There you go. That's what I meant to do. And now we can optimally make the line a little bigger. I'm gonna make just a touch, because we're not doing extremely good job of making this very good, but that's not our idea. So there you go. That's our drawing program in place, and it looks fine. It's not good. You can probably add a drop shadow or like bevel the edges a little, but you do a little. Now what we can do is we can emit stuff with sockets, but we're not doing that yet, but let's just get into it. So we can say, like, in our server code, we can say sockets dot socket dot on connection. We want to, or socket, we want IO dot on connection. We want to have this, grab the socket, and we can console.log stuff. Yeah, let's do it. Let's say like console.log user has connected. And then you can like console log its socket.id with it. Like that. Once we got that, we want to do some more stuff to make the connection work. But firstly, we need to cancel. We need to require the socket.io in here, so we can just do this by saying /socket.io /socket.io.js. And now, if we say here in our code, and here's where the fun stuff starts to happen. We say io equals, or socket equals io, like this, and we refresh and we look into here, refresh this, we look into here, you're gonna see a user has connected. Ta-da! It's amazing. Sockets are very cool, but we're not done yet, sadly enough. We're going to be, the mouse is done. We also want a socket that emits stuff. So we want to, what do we want to send? We want to send a couple of things, which will be logicaler in a moment. So firstly, we want to send our room ID, which we right here we require that. Oh, we haven't. Oh no, that could have been catastrophic if we forgot that. So we need to require our room ID like this. Because we're using EJS, we can use EJS syntaxing, which is like this. Room ID, and then we can end that syntaxing like that. And now we can send on the room ID with, say, like the name of mouse M position for mouse position. We can send the mouse X, mouse Y, or we can, actually, I'm going to do it a little differently. We want to send the X as, or we want to send X as mouse X, and we want to send Y as mouse Y, like this. Now, why is that wrong? Oh, because this all has to be in quotations. There you go. And then you want to have a P mouse, a P pause for the previous mouse position, and we can send that as an X with P mouse pause, P mouse X, and P mouse Y, like this, which is a giant thing. Oh, and we need to send it under some kind of namespace, which I'm going to make, let's say like draw, which, what an amazing name, and so original, you know me. But we can say socket.on draw, and let's just test if we're getting things with it by just saying like console.log. Oh, and we need to like save it as data or something like that, and we can say like data dot mouse position dot x. And now if we draw here something and we look in the console, we might need to refresh this actually. I'm hoping that if we then draw, they'll see numbers pooping out in the console, which is just going to be our mouse position dot x, which is super cool. This just states that it's working. Which we can do like this. Now what we want to do is we want to just emit it to everyone, just for now, or every month except the person who sent it. So which we can do by saying socket.broadcast.emit, and then we can just under the same namespace, and then we can just send the data, which I'm going to actually send a little differently, which we can do by saying a room. First one's gonna be room ID, which is called, this is object destructuring if you didn't know that yet. Position and pause. I'm not gonna go in depth into what object destructuring is, but it's just virtually that you get something like this and you're just breaking them up in separate elements. And what I want to send with this one is the mouse position and the previous mouse position, because the server is gonna handle all the room ID stuff. But we're not there yet. Not yet. I'm wondering how long I'm recording for. 26 minutes, and we're not done yet. This is very depressing stuff, but we'll get there eventually, I guess. So like this, and then once we did that, we're gonna go into our script, and we're gonna say socket.on draw. So if we get something under the namespace draw, we can do object destructuring again. Why not? And we can say mpos and previous mouse position, and then we can turn that into a function like this, and then we need to draw with that, which I'm going to do by just copying my code again, which is, yeah, you can rewrite everything, but I don't really think that that's logical. So let's just say make it blue, and then at mpos.x or previous mouse position.x, previous mouse position.y, and then mouse position.x, mouse position.y. There you go. And now if we open this up in a new client like this, we don't have any room system yet, which is gonna come, but we're not there yet. But if we draw, it kind of works. Actually, yeah, that works relatively nicely. So yeah, that's our drawing program. You can draw abstract art, but room system isn't working, as you can see, because, well, these are two different rooms, and yeah. So when we start, we want to join a room, which if you watched the previous video, you should probably know that. Socket.emit join, and we are just going to send them our room ID. And then we can say here that socket.on join. We can grab the room ID like this and just say socket.join with that room ID. And I'm gonna put this above socket.draw. And now it's joined that room, and then we can just say every time we send a message, we can say .to. And then with that room ID, which should work. I haven't really tested it, but this should work. And now if you go to the same exact room, like this, and we draw, see, there you go. That room system was implemented with lightning speed. I didn't really think it would go that fast, but we kind of already made like a lot of infrastructure for it, so I guess. But yeah, that's just a simple rank program with rooms and socket.io. It's not perfect, because if we like refresh this one and we draw it, this is still gonna have that, but optimally we want to have like some way to send messages, so like maybe the person that's the longest sends all of the data that it already has to the other clients. Could possibly work, but then we need which means that we're almost making like the clients that are on there the server or the database for us, which is super cool. But you could think about how you want to do this. I'm gonna end this video because it's taken so long, and I just want to end it for now. But have a nice day. Goodbye. I'm gonna wait for the video to be 30 minutes because I kind of like that number. And goodbye.